Mystic Messages. I'm Teresa. Thank you so much for stopping by today's live stream. I'm going to give a few moments for some folks to get in here and then we'll get going. I hope everyone is having a beautiful Tuesday and happy equinox to you. I mean, that was yesterday, but we're still in the energies of it. So, yeah, I hope everyone is doing well and enjoying the energies. Let's see what we get going on over in here. Just as a reminder, while folks are coming into the live stream, this is not my only channel. We discuss spiritual things here, the Anunnaki presence, paleo contact, discuss the nature of Yahweh and the scriptures. But I also have a channel that is tarot specific, Anunnaki Oracle Priestess. You can find the icon for that at the bottom of the homepage on this channel. So I definitely invite you to stop by there. Hey, Paul, how are you? Welcome in, brother. Welcome in, welcome in. I forgot to leave the note. You still begging for $5, Blue Eyes? The answer is still no. Go somewhere. Honestly, you might want to work on your begging skills if you still can't get $5. I don't know where you think you're gonna go in somebody's live stream and think they're gonna turn around and stop their live stream to pay you. You're not contributing nothing here. Hey Douglas, how are you? Welcome in, welcome in. No, thank you. I'm good though. I didn't ask you for no money. Please don't ask me for none. Okay. Hey Cece, how are you? Welcome in, welcome in. For the rest of those that do come in, if someone wishes to, no, nothing. Like I said, I did not ask you for any money. Please don't ask me for none. You won't even give me the courtesy of sticking around in the live stream, subscribing, or being a beneficial contributing member to the channel. Why would I give you anything? All you do is come by here to troll and make life difficult. Why would I reward you for that? If I had $1 billion, I wouldn't give you $5. Not with what you're doing. Awesome, awesome. Okay, well, again, not if your subscription requires me to pay you for it, I don't need it because I spend my own time to share the knowledge that I've gotten through hard life lessons, easy life lessons, prayer, meditation, and everything else. If you don't see any value in that and you feel like I have to pay you for you to stick around, you can leave, unsubscribe. I'm good. Okay? I'm doing real good, CC. Not one penny, not one. Don't ask me for nothing. I didn't ask you for anything. Don't come in here asking me for nothing. Again, how do I know you not a scammer? Who in their right mind comes into a live stream asking the content creator for money? You might want to go to try to catch up with Isaac Garza or some of them that help the homeless folks on the side of the road. Go into their live streams and email one of them and see if they'll send you $5. How about that? They give away hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. I ain't got it like that. So that's what you play. Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. I love a lot of different stuff, but I was definitely feeling a little zen today. So, hey, Mr. Rain, welcome in, welcome in. And Hiroti Chef, neither one. Honestly, I'm at a point now. Once upon a time, I would have eaten both of those, but I stopped eating McDonald's and KFC years ago. I know I'm still overweight and all of that, but if I had still been eating that stuff, I'd be unalive now, I'm sure. I done made up my mind to stop eating anywhere that's got a window hanging off the side of it and just start eating real food. Hey, Witness Truth and Light. You can go too. If you don't like what we doing here, goodbye. I ain't said nothing. First of all, did anybody say anything at all? One word about sorcery, divination, or anything else? You bumping up in here so quick to put your little 2 cents worth in, you don't even know what we're talking about here. As it just so happens, I don't even do tarot on this channel anymore. But if I choose to, take your proselytizing somewhere else, because you don't have a right to tell me what to do. That's extremely presumptuous of you to even assume that I'm Christian, because I am not. I used to be before I learned better, but then when I really learned what Yeshua's real message was, I'm not Christian. And anybody who genuinely loves Yeshua should not be either. But that's up for you to learn. Okay, witness, truth, and light? That part. They're ridiculous. Oh, you can't believe the trolls on here, and you started it off this morning or this afternoon? You kicked it off. No, I'm not a Zionist, Joseph C. I am someone who was extracted from the matrix. Again, like I said, I had a very, very strict Christian religious upbringing. I've been reading the Bible since I was 2 years old, like literally since I was 2 years old. But there's a lot of stuff in the scriptures. Yeah, I ain't studying about none of these people. But the thing is, I noticed that there was a very big disconnect between what Yeshua said God was supposed to be and what I was reading in the scriptures about what Yahweh actually was. And I didn't even get around to understanding the Gospel of John at that point, but it just did not set right with me. And I wound up leaving the religion of my birth. But even at that point, I thought, well, maybe they just got it wrong, because I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So I thought, the rest of the world clowned them. I thought, well, maybe they just got it wrong. Surely another sect of Christianity would be okay. So I was set out to find the right one. Little did I know it's 45,000 sects of Christianity, so they can't even decide amongst themselves which one is the right one. But I got baptized in the Liberty Baptist Church and did all of that good stuff and did the Sunday school route and all the rest of that. And that felt a little better, but it's still, there's a disconnect there. So I stepped away from formal religion for a while. And then later on, when I got heavily into meditation, I became clairaudient and I was tapped back into Yeshua, who took me right back into the Bible, because I kept hearing they delivered him to the Jews. They delivered him up to the Romans, excuse me. They delivered him up to the Romans. That's what I kept hearing. So I was like, wait a minute, who is they? And then the Romans, they delivered him to, which Romans? And then when I started digging and find out, basically, like you said, the Romans are the one, that's the birthplace of Christianity, right there with Constantine, 325 AD. And how is it, if it was supposed to be a Christ-centered religion, how is it that it didn't even really become a full-fledged religion until 300 years after he walked the earth? You said there's a split in the veil. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The veil is almost non-existent now, and truthfully, I saw another content creator that was mentioning that as far as the equinox, as of then, they talking about the rapture has begun. But we already talked about what we felt like the rapture long before they started saying that. I was telling you, I really felt like the concept of the rapture was because of the widening of the distance between 3D and 5D. Exactly, Bradley, $14. I know who Yaldabaoth is. We talk about it quite a bit on this channel. Yahweh is Yaldabaoth. He was also known, he absorbed Baal, because initially in the temple of Yahweh, Baal and Asherah were worshipped. All three were worshipped together. And over time, out of his jealousy, he absorbed Baal. And then he's also been known as Beelzebub. He's been known as Dionysus, Yao, Ianus, Bacchus, Odin, Zeus, all of those. But his first title, and that's what Christians fail to understand, even though Yeshua told them in the Gospel of John, he told them directly. And Christians still fail to acknowledge the fact that Yahweh is Satan the devil. They say right there in the book that he transforms himself into an angel of light, and he absolutely got the whole world lying in the power of the wicked one, and they will not see it. They'd rather jump on here and start spewing their Sunday school pablum rhetoric without actually knowing what they're talking about. But Yeshua told them in the Gospel of John, you don't know the one that sent me. You don't know my Father. You worship your father, the devil. He's a liar and the father of the lie. So whoever that was busy in here telling me what I should do. You should have been in here, witness, truth, and light. You should have been in here at our last live stream, because we went all the way back. You quick to talk about nobody practicing divination or sorcery and all that stuff, and who engages in witchcraft. Go and read the account of when Yahweh led the nation of Israel out of Egypt. That's so full of witchcraft and sorcery, it's not even funny. He gave Moses, anytime you throw a stick on the ground and it become a snake that eat other snakes, that's high sorcery, my dear. You turn all of the water in the kingdom into blood, that is witchcraft and sorcery, love. That part. And the casting of spells, that whole Easter thing that y'all do, celebrating the crucifixion, and then turn around and do the Easter thing, talking about you celebrating his resurrection, eat of my flesh and drink of my blood. That is spell casting. That is a binding spell to reinforce the curse that was put on Yeshua HaMashiach when they hung him from that tree. Deuteronomy tell you any man hung from a tree is cursed. If he stay on that tree past nightfall, then the ground is even cursed. And Paul doubled down on that when was it Acts, Romans, one of them talking about, oh, how good it was that he chose to wear the curse for our sake. He didn't have to die for our sins. That's the lie the Romans told you, to rinse his blood off their hands after they had unalived him at the request of the Jews. It was not necessary for him to buy back our sins. How in the world is he going to turn around? First of all, how in the world is supposedly the Alpha and the Omega, all-knowing Sky Daddy? Why is he going to turn around and require his son to lay down his life as a blood sacrifice to cover up his faulty creation? If you the Alpha and the Omega, you should have known Adam and Eve was going to mess up. That part. And then after they messed up, you still turn around and let it rock on for another 4, 5, 6, 10, however many thousand years between Genesis and Yeshua's sacrifice. Christians really need to stop and listen to the BS that they've allowed themselves to be dealt with. And you coming in here, Anu, talking about telling somebody to be quiet, you can leave up out of here. You wearing the name of the Anunnaki king, the father of Yahweh and Lord Enki. And you actually got the nerve to tell me to be quiet? Obviously, you wearing a name you don't even know who and what it is. Anu is Yahweh's daddy. So he can't be the all-knowing Alpha and Omega Sky Daddy, because his daddy came from Nibiru, which means he came from Nibiru, which means he can't possibly be the Alpha and the Omega lie they tell you in the scriptures. That part. No, I don't do no spell casting, Bradley, other than what all humans do. Every time you say something out your mouth or write something down, that is spell casting. But no, I don't deal with no kind of forms of spell casting like that. I do it my own personal intentions with the moon energies, but I will not do work for nobody. Hey, Antoine, how are you? You said blessings for Yeshua. Yes. May the radiant presence of the Anointed One shine through all veils of illusion. May his name echo across realms. Healer of hearts, revealer of truth, bridge between worlds. In every breath, may his compassion awaken the sleeping soul. In every silence, may his wisdom descend like dew upon the thirsty spirit. Blessed be Yehoshua, bearer of light, whose path is love, whose teaching is liberation. Absolutely. Yeah, Bradley gonna be on his own with the spell casting. We don't play that around here. We know better. I love you too, but I have found peace and I have found light, and it wasn't nowhere up in no church. Go back and read your Bible again, and you'll find out the true nature of Yahweh, and you'll put that mess down. Look at who Yeshua really is and what he actually said, because the only time he figures in there is in that little bitty bit. Truthfully, even Matthew, Mark, and Luke are greatly adapted. The very fact that the account of the so-called crucifixion, the Last Supper, the account of the Last Supper is almost word for word exactly the same in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, tells you that those books are actually manufactured, that they were not actually written by Matthew, Mark, and Luke. There's no way that three individuals would have remembered the account the same exact way 70 to 110 years after the fact, verbatim. That is not possible. They wasn't there to look over each other's shoulders to copy notes and make sure that they were getting it the same. So the fact that those accounts lay down word for word lets me know that Matthew, Mark, and Luke are not actually eyewitness accounts of what Yeshua did and said and all the rest of that. That's a lot of conjecture. But the Gospel of John, on the other hand, it is known that John was a cousin of Yeshua, and he was only 6 months older. So it's very likely that John's account is more accurate. And also in that account, that whole thing of the Last Supper is conspicuously absent in John's account. So if you go and read the Gospel of John and pay attention to who Yeshua was and what he was actually saying, it'll give you a whole lot of insight about who Yahweh really is, and you'll stop worshiping him too. Because Yeshua was not telling nobody to worship Yahweh. He was telling them exactly the opposite. That was the wrong Elohim. And interestingly enough, Witness Truth and Light, we talked about it on the last live stream, or the one before that actually, because it was kind of depressing. We were reading in First and Second Kings. And I think we went back into some of Samuel, but we were reading the account of when Aaron's sons were unalived by Yahweh, how they were going in and they put the sacrifices all together for him. And it was the most disgusting bloodbath described you ever want to see. I can't remember. In fact, I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to read it again because it really was disgusting. They was in there literally. They killed 6 animals, large ones too. They unalived 6 animals, drained all the blood, and was literally throwing the blood against the altar and rubbing it on the horns of the thing and all the rest of that. And all at the end of it all, they took the fat off of those animals and the liver off the animal and draped them across the altar. And Yahweh came down with his little flashbang and the flame and the smoke and all of that, and literally ate all of that raw flesh and all of that other stuff right there in front of the witnesses in the temple. And after all of them throwing all that blood all over the place and all of that, Aaron's 2 sons came through with incense burners to clear the air. And Yahweh was so enraged by that he literally struck both of those men unalive right there in front of their daddy. And Moses told him, don't say nothing. Don't rip your clothes. Don't do the normal things that you would do to show that you were mourning. Moses reminded him, you can't even show no kind of mourning or nothing, or he'll unalive you right here too. That is not a loving God. That is an animal. And that's what people have chosen to worship, but we don't do that here. So you go find peace and light, but you ain't gonna find it in this book, because Yahweh ain't about peace. Yahweh has hated humans ever since he set foot on this planet and humans were fashioned. Nobody that comes on here heckling me during a live stream, Blue Eyes, will I ever give money to. I've given people a whole lot of money in my time, and when spirit moves me to give somebody something, that's fine, but this is not appropriate. It's not the right time or place, and you're only doing it to be disrespectful. So never ever ever, ain't no hypothetically in it, nobody gonna beg me for no money in a live stream when I'm working and teaching and get no kind of result. If anything, people should be giving me money because I am taking out my time to teach. And my knowledge and my time ain't free. I'm just giving it as a labor of love. But I don't have to pay you no money to stick around and listen to something that you obviously don't even have enough respect to pay attention to and don't believe. Or instead of trying to heckle me, you be quiet and listen and learn. So don't ask me no more about no money, and there ain't no hypothetically. I'm telling you in real time, I will never give nobody no money that comes to me on a live stream begging for money. Vin Cruz, I'm from the United States. I'm currently living in Georgia. But that's just it. Witness, truth, and light. Yahweh is not our creator. That's the problem. Yahweh didn't have nothing to do with the Adamu project. That was his brother, Lord Enki, and his sister, Ninma, Isis, and his nephew, Ningish Zeta, Thoth. Yahweh had zero to do with the human project here on earth. In fact, like I said, he hated humans. He's the one that insisted that we have a worship gene installed in us to make us want to worship them. He's the one that cooked up the lie and said that we were never to be told they're not gods, that they were going to parade around and behave and tell us that they were gods in order to enslave us mind, body, and soul. That's all Yahweh. He always wanted us as captive slaves. He does not love us. He did not give his son to save us. He unalived that beautiful prophet to keep him from telling the truth about how wicked Yahweh actually is. And if you go back and read in the scriptures, over time, several times the nation of Israel knew better and they left serving Yahweh. It's the Bible writers that turned around and said that they had sinned and fell short and all the rest of that. Abraham foolishly chose to worship Yahweh. Moses foolishly chose to worship Yahweh. But Abraham, bless his heart, was a nomadic liar. The first thing he did when he hooked up with Yahweh was lied and told the Pharaoh that his wife was his sister because he was scared that the Pharaoh might unalive him in order to marry his wife. Spineless. And Moses had left Egypt on the run from the law because he had unalived a court official, one of the guards of the Pharaoh, and he was afraid that the Pharaoh was going to take his life. He had killed somebody in a fit of anger. Those are not role models that entire nations should have been following behind, if you ask me. Because the only reason he got hooked up with serving Yahweh was because when he ran, he was out there on the run. Yahweh got in his head and made him a lot of promises. He kept promising, oh, I'll make your name a mighty people. I'll do this, I'll do that. But several times he promised the nation of Israel that promised land and never gave it to them. And he turned around and brought plagues and curses down on them too. He treated them people awful, awful, awful. And then had the nerve to turn around and gaslight him. Go read the book of Amos and Obadiah if you don't believe me. The same curses and scourges he brought to the surrounding cities and stuff, he turned around and brought to them and told them, oh, I turned around and created famine for you and still you did not return to me. I turned around and unalived your crops and your livestock and still you didn't return to me. And I brought hail and I did this. He just bragged and carried on about the horrible things he did to his so-called named people and never gave them what he promised them. So much so that Paul turned around in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, that dissertation on faith, when they describe what faith is, in verse 40 of that chapter, he tells you, for all of the faithful men and women of old listed in the Bible and all the beautiful works of faith that they did, not one of them saw their promises fulfilled on this side of the earth. Not one of them. But y'all continue to blindly worship this monster. Wake up and smell the truth. You can sit there and say that's all you need to know and it don't matter as long as you still bending your name in the name of Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah. It does matter. Yeshua told y'all at the end time when they get ready to do this whole thing where they wrap it up like they should tell you they're gonna happen in the book of Revelation, when Antoine mentioned earlier, was it Paul that mentioned that the veil is thin now because there is a dividing of this timeline and all the rest of that? And at the end of Revelation, it said that Yeshua and Michael, the four horsemen, all the rest of them are going to come back and they're going to kick butt and take names. And those that are still running around, refusing to let go of Yahweh, they going down with them. So you can think it don't matter. It matters. It really matters. You're gonna be wind up trapped off into 3D and wind up getting churned and burned and recycled again and be stuck in the 3D for another 2,600 years. Because we are at the age of Aquarius right now. We're right here at the doorway, and Yeshua said, "Go to the gate. The man with the pitcher, the jug of water, will show you the way." He's spiritually, energetically back here on this planet. He said that he would not leave us as orphans. The Holy Spirit would come here as a helper. And Holy Spirit did show up as a helper. But Christians are so quick to paint everything as false light and still keep holding on to them ancient lies that then led humanity lost for 2,500 years. Keep doing it. Hey, story time. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Fafa NJ. Welcome. Oh, if he don't move, I'm about to say, if he don't leave, he'll learn something if he stick around long enough. Because and I'm not asking nobody that's heard anything that I got to say. Please don't take my word for it. Go look it up. Go read First and Second Kings. Go read Amos and Obadiah and see that I'm telling you the truth. And please go read the Gospel of John. And after you finish doing all of that, go read the Lost Book of Enki and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and see if you don't make the correlation that Yeshua was not on Team Yahweh. Yeshua was on the Elohim that Yeshua was referring to was Lord Enki, not Enlil, his rotten behind brother. Enlil been a son of a gun ever since he got on this planet. He has wreaked hell and confusion ever since he got here. Through all timelines, through all pantheons, through all iterations, however many name changes he's had, he has been a nasty SOB in every single pantheon he has ever shown up in. And the newest kids on the block decided to forget all about that and pick him up in this Yahweh cat character and totally ignore everything else. That's the main reason they tell you in school. They teach you mythology and teach you that it's fiction. That ain't fiction. Some of it has been tampered with for creative license, but the reason that the Roman mythos and the Greek mythos and all of that sound like a nighttime soap opera because that's how the Anunnaki got down. They're not gods. They're just extraterrestrials that were super powerful. And yes, they slept with each other's brothers and sisters and wives and everything else. Ninma had a baby for both of the brothers, Enlil and Enki, and they all brothers and sisters, same daddy, different mamas. And she had a baby for Enlil and she had a baby for Enki. Their morals are not like ours. We sit back in judgment of them because in our human frail minds, they said, let us make man in our image. And we turned around over time because the church led us to. We turned around and made them in our image. We turned around and fashioned gods in our own image. They jacked up morality, and we turned around and accepted their jacked up morality. Hey, Emma J, Emma YT. Hey, hey. Welcome, welcome. Oh, honey, witness, truth, and light. It's gonna continue dividing. You talking about we pray we don't divide anymore? It's a major look. If you wasn't paying attention when the rest of the world was running around, hollering, holding their heads, talking about getting the jab back in 2020, did you not turn on the television several times and hear The mainstream television, news outlets, and everything else talking about a paradigm shift. Now, they've been trying to deny ever since we started. All the conspiracy theorists and the new agers been talking about it. But when you hear mainstream television talking about a paradigm shift, you best to know what's happening. We had a major timeline shift back in 2020. We ain't in Kansas anymore, and it ain't going back. It's going to continue. The divide is going to get wider and wider. That's why people like me and the Billy Carsons and the Paul Wallaces and all the rest of them out there are busy trying to talk to people to educate them so that they can learn the difference and wake up in the matrix and do the quantum leap that they need to ascend into the 4D and 5D, or get themselves geared up for it. The ones that are still hanging on in that infantile religiosity are going to be left behind at some point, because the main way, and here's the thing that people don't understand. There's a mistranslation in the Gospel of John, but it's super important. It's something that comes out in the Emerald Tablets as well. John 3:16. Everybody can quote that from Sunday school. But there's a slight mistranslation in that verse. It says, though, for the Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes, it says in him, but it should say whoever believes like him should not perish, but have eternal life. For the Elohim did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. Now, the church done told us that that's got something to do with deathbed confessions and all the rest of that. And you don't get your reward on this side, that you got to get it on the other side. But that ain't what Yeshua said. He told us, did I not tell ye are gods? And then he turned around and said, greater things than I have done will ye do. Yeshua achieved Christos, or Christed beingness. He ascended to Christos right here on planet Earth during his lifetime. And he told us we can do the same thing. Now, it took him some years to do it. He left Israel at the age of 12. Christians act like they don't know where he was or what he was doing. The Indians know, folks in India know what he was doing. Folks in the Himalayas know what he was doing. Folks all over Al-Kepalan know what he was doing. But he spent 18 years in spiritual study. And when he came back into Jerusalem, first thing he did was got baptized by his cousin, John. And when that happened, let's look at the part that they did. Now, whether or not all of this is for real or not, we don't know. But hold on. Wait a second. I'm trying to get... It ain't in Matthew. I'm trying to make sure I get to his baptism. It might be in Mark. I think it is Mark. Yeah. It said, John appeared baptizing in the wilderness. This is Mark chapter 1, starting in verse 4. It says, John appeared baptizing in the wilderness and proclaiming a baptism of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. And all the country of Judea and all Jerusalem were going out to him and were being baptized by him in the river Jordan, confessing their sins. Now John was clothed with camel's hair and wore a leather belt around his waist and ate locusts and wild honey. And he preached, saying, after me comes he who is mightier than I, the strap whose sandals I am not worthy to stoop down and untie. I have baptized you with water, but he will baptize you with Holy Spirit. Now it's interesting to note, Yeshua and John were only 6 months apart. But Yeshua left Israel, or left Jerusalem, at the age of 12. He hadn't been back for 18 years, but he comes back. It says, in those days, Yeshua came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in the Jordan. And when he came up out of the water, immediately he saw the heavens being torn open and the Spirit descending on him like a dove. And the voice came from heaven, you are my beloved Son. With you I am well pleased. Now, again, every time the Anunnaki showed up in the scriptures, they either in the cloud, in the smoke, in the fire, in the whatever. This time it descended from heaven in the form of a dove. But then the Spirit immediately drove him out into the wilderness. And he was in the wilderness 40 days being tempted by Satan. And he was with the wild animals, and the angels were ministering to him. So Yahweh, again, his first title was Satan of the Eden. You can go look it up. It's in the lost book of Enki. So his father that's mentioned in John 3:16 is not Yahweh. It's the other major Elohim that was mentioned in the scriptures. Because they do us a grave disservice by mistranslating Elohim as God. It does not mean God. It never has. Zechariah Sitchin said that clearly, and he grew up reading ancient Hebrew and Aramaic and could translate cuneiform. And he said he used to get in trouble in school too because they insisted that Elohim meant God. It doesn't. It just means powerful ones. And El Shaddai means sons of the powerful ones. And El Elyon, now that is what Yahweh said he was. El Elyon means the destroyer. That's who first he wouldn't even tell Abraham his name. He said, "Who shall I say sent me?" Tell him I am who I said I am sent you. And ultimately then he told Abraham, I'm El Elyon. Don't get it twisted. Don't make a move to the right or the left. Keep it moving. You said when I say that it's not humanity or animal, what I meant, I don't know what that question means, honey. I don't know what you're saying. It is not humanity. I said the Anunnaki were not human. I didn't even say that. I don't know what you're talking about, Fafa NJ. You're going to have to repeat your question more clearly. I'm not getting into nothing. I will not do the Trump bashing thing. I'm not going to do the Charlie Kirk thing, Bradley 14. That's not what we're here for. Okay? Now, I don't agree with everything Trump does, but neither is he the devil. He's part of the machine like everybody else. So therefore, I have very little opinion of any of the politicians that are out here because they are not the ones that's on my ballot, okay? None of them. I think he might mean well, but I just refuse to play that game. Hey, Julie, welcome. Oh, you going to be back with the Jesus Loves You stuff? All right, well, whatever. Hey, Natalie Rose, welcome, welcome. That poor witness, truth, and light. I'm telling you, please, if you don't never believe me, just go do your homework. That whole poured out on the cross stuff, that's the lie that's going to keep you stuck spiritually, mentally. It's going to keep your soul bound here on this earth when it doesn't have to. Wasn't nothing poured out on no cross for us. The act of impaling someone, as the Romans did, was a very ignoble way to die. And it didn't have nothing to do with no cross. And the Christians tell that lie about the 3 crosses up on the hill at Calvary. They sure enough wouldn't have put a thief and a murderer on a cross too, beside Yeshua. So that's the beginning of the lie right there. He was right sandwiched between 2 for real convicted convicts. And the reason that they unalive people that way was because it was the most disrespectful way to unalive somebody. It was deliberately done to curse them. Go look in Deuteronomy. It tells you any man hung from a tree is cursed. Now that whole cross lie, that is a convention of Emperor Constantine. Constantine was not a worshiper or a lover of Yeshua at all, at all. Constantine just wanted to unify his kingdom, and there was a whole lot of different religions around. So he called the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, 295 years after they were after Yeshua had left the earth, regardless of whether they actually unalived him during the crucifixion or not. That's a whole other issue. But 300 years later, for sure, Yeshua was long gone by then. And he called the First Council of Nicaea. And the reason they have the Nicene Creed is because that's where they invented all of that stuff from. And they put the legend of Yeshua in the middle of this vehicle, this book right here. This part, the first part, let me see, we right here at. This is the first part right here. This is also included in the Torah, this or the Talmud, which are one of the Jewish holy books. But this is the first part. This is the Anunnaki part of the book, from Genesis through Deuteronomy. But this is also where Yahweh is introduced. And Yahweh decided he was a jealous God and he wanted to take over and all the rest of that. Now, the rest of this middle part over here is a lot of Yahweh's exploits, and a lot of it's a whole bunch of unfair dealings with the nation of Israel and the people around them, and then turning around and punishing them. It's a whole lot of M-word, death, kill, all of that in these books. Then when you get here to this, and I mean, again, the stories that are in here, horrible. The book of Job, the whole book of Job is about how Yahweh allowed this man 10 of his children to be unalived. He was the richest man in the land. And just to prove a point, just for shits and giggles, Yahweh allowed that man's children, 10 children, adult children, to be unalived overnight. Thousands of head of cattle, thousands of head of sheep, thousands of head of goats, all that unalived overnight. All of his crops gone overnight. All of his lands lost overnight. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, turned around and gave him nasty seeping boils of sores all over his body, and then sent his 3 magpie friends to sit there and berate him for almost 2 whole weeks, telling him about, oh, I know you must have did something wrong. Don't nobody have all of this happen to them unless they did something to deserve it. Go ahead on and confess whatever you did, Job. You ain't all that, Job. Look at you. You thought you was doing this, that, and the third, Job. But now look at you. So much so his wife told him to turn around, just curse God and die already. And the preachers turn around and preach that from the pulpit like it's a beautiful thing. Yahweh is a nasty, sadistic prick. But it's story after story after story after story, whole books of that, all the way up to Matthew. Then we get the story about how Yeshua finally came back, or how he was born. He left at the age of 12. We don't know what happened. Then all of a sudden he bebops back in town. By the time we get to John, it tells us why he came back to town. He spent 3 years trying to tell these people that they was worshiping the wrong Elohim by worshiping Yahweh. And then they turned around. They hated him so much for telling the truth that they unalived him. And 300 years later, the memory of that story was still alive. And Constantine used it as a vehicle to unify all them little satellite religions into the newest iteration of Yahweh worship. They knew he had been known as Yahweh. They took all kinds of pagan traditions and religions and all of that. And if you don't believe me on that one, look up the origins of every single holy day of the Christian faith. Every single one of them is a bloodthirsty pagan ritual. Even Valentine's Day comes from the Lupercalia, which is a disgusting, absolutely disgusting fertility ritual. And they end up with the whole resurrection story. That's a fertility ritual to Astara. That part. Everything about Christianity is pagan, and it's full of divination and witchcraft and all the stuff they tell you that we ain't supposed to do. The church hierarchy use every bit of that. But that cross thing, like I said, Constantine was not a Christian. He was a sun worshiper, the sun up in the sky, S-U-N. And the symbol on his seal of sun worship was the cross. So they implemented that story. They weaved the Yeshua part and added the cross thing in it. But the truth of the matter is, the idea of a crucifixion on the cross was not only historically inaccurate, It's medically damn near impossible. If you hang a human being, even a 150-pound human, if you put two nails through their hands like this, splayed out, their body weight will cause them nails to rip clean through. There's not enough um, horizontal binding, but there's not enough bone here to hold a human body up. If you were to put a stake here, you would literally have to put the stake through this part of the wrist and double it up. And that's the way they actually impaled someone. They held their hands overhead and then cut their knees out from under them. They would break the legs so that they couldn't hold themselves up. And by being forced to hold their arms overhead like that with weight bearing on it, it would cause their lungs to fill with fluid. And eventually they would drown in their own fluid. But it took a long time for that to happen. It was a very painful way to go. So, again, to sit there and say, my passion moves you, but you still choose the simplicity. The simplicity of what's moved you before ain't even simple. Christians have accepted a convoluted lie. It ain't simple at all. You have to cross your eyes and blur your eyes to humanity. You have to blur your eyes to the truth. You have to blur your eyes to the nature of a very vengeful, bloodthirsty, dishonest God in order to really follow Christianity. Go and read your Bible. Stop just listening to the sermons where they give you a verse or two and then put some cute little rhymey words around it. Go actually get a version of the Bible or a translation that you can understand and sit down and read it for understanding. And you will see the nature of Yahweh. Worshiping Yahweh is not simple. You have to literally blind yourself to all human decency in order to accept Yahweh as your God. And I know because I did it. Hey, Vexio or Vexiso, have a great day to you too. And witness truth and light. This is the part. The reason people have such a hard time learning to love each other better is because they worship a monster. Like Paul Wallace said, worshiping a monster makes a monster out of us. If your God is bloodthirsty, it's okay for you to be bloodthirsty. If your God is misogynistic, it's okay for you to be misogynistic. If your God endorses slavery, it's okay for you to endorse slavery. If your God is greedy and vengeful, it's okay for you to be greedy and vengeful after a while. The reason that the world is in the shape it's in is because, like the scriptures say, the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. Now, the Christians try to tell you that ain't them. It's talking about all the other religions. Jews try to say the same thing. Muslims try to say the same thing. But all said between Jews call him Yahweh, Christians call him Jehovah, Muslims call him Allah. But between the three Abrahamic religions on this planet, 75% of this planet worships Yahweh in one form or another. And if that's the truth, if he was genuinely the true God, why don't we have peace? You just said, I pray we learn to love each other better. If 75% of the planet is worshiping the true God, who Yeshua said is love, we shouldn't have no problem loving each other. But the fact of the matter is, Yahweh worship became a thing 2,500 years ago, and there has been no peace on this planet ever since. Think about that. He's been around, like I said, with the Muslims since 500 BC. Then he came online with the Christians. I'm sorry, with the Jews since 500 BC. Then he came online with the Christians right at the turn of from BC into AD at the beginning of the Common Era. And then with the Muslims in 600 AD. So literally 2,500 years where Yahweh has been the predominant deity worshipped on this planet, and we've been going from bad to worse ever since. Nobody bothers to ask that question or think about that. They just keep rocking on doing what they've been doing because that's what mama and grandmama took us. They took us down there, plunked our little booties down in the pews, and that's what we was told we were supposed to do. Did you not even understand that at the beginning, when Christianity was first established on this planet, it was done through blood? Go read about the Holy Wars. It was supposedly, it was a land grab, yes, but they literally unalived 80 million people around the planet to establish Christianity. People didn't want it. They didn't have no choice. It was like, this is what you're going to accept, and you're going to die right here and now. That's why Christianity is so prevalent. Not that it's the truth. They just one of the more violent religions that are real. And again, they point their finger at everybody else. They had this whole, we live in the land of in God we trust over here. And they turned around and set up that lie to have everybody in the world hating brown peoples. Anybody that claimed Islam, they had them hating them for over a decade. But at the end of the day, who is any more bloodthirsty and violent than Christians? Wasn't it the land of in God we trust that dropped that situation over in Nagasaki and Hiroshima a while back? Wasn't it in the land of in God we trust that had to show up and be to save the day with the shot that rang out around the world in World War I and World War II and the Korean War and Vietnam and I'll wait. Muslims ain't never led the charge on no global conflict. But they've got us brainwashed to believe that we're all good and everybody else is bad, but they all worship in the same God. You said, was Isaac a jerk too? Story time. Isaac was, wait a minute. Truthfully, which tribe was Isaac responsible? Because like I said, if you look through Kings and all of that, several times the nation of Israel kind of deviated away from Yahweh worship. I know Esau became the Edomites. I'm not sure where Isaac was responsible for. I think Jacob became the primary nation of Israel. I think Isaac's people deviated too, which could you blame them? Because Isaac was the one that Abraham took up on the mountain to cut his throat with no goat to sacrifice. I wouldn't have worshiped him no more after that either. I mean, I'm glad that the goat showed up and all of that, but just for shits and giggles, Yahweh said, prove that you love me. Now, I finally, after 24 years of lying to you and making you wait for the son in your old age, now you 100 years old, and I done finally kept my promise and gave you this son. And he ain't even legally grown yet, but he was probably grown by our standards. But back then, I think the Jews didn't reach a term full adulthood until like age 30. But now that he grown up and he did this, take him up on the mountaintop and cut his throat, sacrifice him to me to prove your loyalty. That's the kind of sadistic nonsense that Yahweh put his servants through. Yeah, it wasn't. No, that's what I'm saying. It was Abraham that was supposed to unalive Isaac. I think it wasn't Isaac. Isaac was the one that was laying on the altar, baby. Oh yeah, Natalie Rose for sure. I unplugged from mainstream media in 1999. If the only thing I know about anything that's happening on TV now is if I see clips here on YouTube, and I do have to even stay up out the short reels because I wind up watching way too much of it. If I do, I'm not always effective because it's very easy to get roped off in that. But yeah, the little bit I know about TV come from the short reels. Yeah, I I need to go check that too. Like I said, I went through part of that email, but not all of it, Paul. And Yeshua told them that the kingdom of heaven is within. So why in the world is Christians, Muslims, and Jews still fighting each other and doggedly insisting that everybody bow down to Yahweh and keep funding these mega churches and funding these huge religious organizations and preaching hellfire and damnation to everybody that don't fall in line with it? That part, witness, truth, and light. Because, like I said, we ain't going to no heaven. The realms, even the only way we're going to escape this realm, if you go read the Emerald Tablets, and I get it, everybody don't want to believe in that either, but expand your mind. It won't hurt, I promise. Thoth had basically said that The powers that were here, that are here, they call them the powers that be. But Yeshua said we war not against, well, was it Paul? Whoever it was in the Bible, it says we war not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. That's not a lie. There are non-corporeal beings that are on through the other side of the veil that can feed off of energy, and they feed off of negative energy too. That's one of the reasons they keep so much hell and confusion going on this planet, for real. Even look at the, and for real, Satanist or Luciferian will tell you that they call it loosh, that they harvest loosh, like these big concerts and huge gatherings and stuff. That's why a lot of times, depending on the genre of the music and stuff, it's very easy for a frenzy type situation to pop off at those things, because those unseen entities are there, and they really want that crazy energy to pop off. And God forbid, heaven help them, if a life is lost at one of them. When they had the festival seating issues and people get trampled to death and all that kind of stuff, oh, the energy be high, high, high in those type places for those unseen beings. We don't have to all carry a piece of heaven and hell, though. That's a choice if you want to. Now, again, nobody is perfect, but that idea of a need for perfectionism is, again, a Yahwistic Christian lie. Well, I ain't gonna say just Christian, because when I say Yahwistic, Christians, Jews, and Muslims kind of harp on that. It's most prevalent amongst Christians with the whole heaven and hell thing, but nobody said we had to be perfect. That's the lie they cooked up to make us feel unworthy, so that they could spin the lie that we needed Yeshua's blood to buy back our unworthiness and our sinfulness. That's not true. That's doctrine, dogma, programming. Y'all, if you understood, if you go back and read the Lost Book of Enki, we were never intended to live forever. And Enlil made damn sure we couldn't live forever, because after they did the whole Tower of Babel thing, he went in and insisted on a modification to literally cap our telomeres to make sure we wouldn't live past 120 or so. They put that in the book, but y'all still turn around and feel like the reason we die is because of our sin and our dirtiness, our unworthiness. That's because the church makes you feel unworthy, but that's not the case. And Eve's sin that women have been paying the price for forever was in daring to want to know the truth. Yahweh insisted that we were never to know that they're not gods, that he put had a worship gene put in us to make us worship them, and we were never supposed to be told that they're not gods. And when Enki just felt so bad about it, because here's the thing, Yahweh ain't never gave half a damn about us. He didn't give up none of his DNA. He didn't nothing. He's not a geneticist. He is a warrior. Always has been. Like I said, he was Lord of the Command, Satan of Eden, and he told you that he is El Elyon, the destroyer. Yahweh is a warrior. Enki was the scientist, the geneticist, the one who gave us astrology and music and the mystery schools and ethics and agriculture and all of the genetic, the hybridization and domestication of grains and stuff for us to eat. He was the one that had sheep imported from Nibiru to be a food crop from us and all of that. Yeah, according to the Lost Book, sheep, mutton was not originally a life form on this planet. But all of those type things he did because once he gave us, Enki literally gave us his DNA. The Adam had Enki's DNA in it, not Enlil's. And Ninmah carried him in her womb himself. Isis. Genesis, that is the genes of Isis. That's why that book is called that. because they literally, and Eve was carried by Enki's wife, Damkina. That part. Enlil, Yahweh didn't have nothing to do with none of that. Nothing. Hey, King David, welcome in, welcome in. I'm trying to. We're gonna be patient. Initially, CC, I think initially Witness Truth and Light came in here a little bit like that other one that left here. But I honestly feel like, I mean, this is what we like to see happen in real time. There's several of y'all that was in here that initially came in here a little salty. But then you started listening. You probably went and did some homework off the channel after the live stream, and you found out that I wasn't making it up. And then you were right on time with it. Hey, No Wipe Top Coat, good to have you in here, love. Welcome, welcome. Ain't that the truth, Natalie Rose? You say your life is pretty peaceful. Make your world small, and you'll see what truly matters and what's truly happening. And honestly, I find that to be so true, so very true. Like when you turn, I mean, we all see the same things. Well, maybe not everybody, because everybody's algorithm ain't the same. But I know when I get on YouTube, I see like these Karen videos and people acting a fool and all the rest of that. Excuse me. And even sometimes I see things that's supposed to have been happening right here in Atlanta where I live. But I tell you, I don't be seeing none of that. None of it. I don't go out that much anymore. But even when I was going out a couple times every week out and about within the city, that's not the kind of stuff that finds me. I've had some little adventures there where I bumped into people. Most of the time when I go out, I wind up striking up an interesting conversation with somebody, or somebody that needs my help winds up coming up to me, or whatever. Yeah, it's those kinds of things. Good night, Douglas M. I'm sorry. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. I didn't see. You said a cross where buried with the head down because it's easier to live with psychic. Yeah. It's fine not to know Witness Truth and Light. I would genuinely, if you are seriously wanting to learn, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel and then go into the playlist I have that's called Modern Mystic Loved Ones. I have a lot of talks there where we go into the scriptures and talk about insights there, things that I've been shown in meditation, that sort of thing. I also would encourage you to go through and either on my channel or any of the others that you want, but actually listen to the Lost Book of Enki and the discussion we have on the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I have that playlist as well, but that'll help you with a lot of the stuff that we deal with here. Yeah. Honestly, you saying let's not divide anymore, Witness Truth and Light? We have to. If you was in a burning house, would you stick around in the burning house just because the other people didn't want to walk out with you? Or will you try to encourage them to leave, but there comes a point when you must leave the burning house? That's exactly where the chosen are right now. Like you said, the veil is thinning, the timelines are splitting, and you're saying we don't need to divide anymore. We have to, because the Christian, Muslim, and Jewish zealots will not leave behind their precious Yahweh. Now there comes a point, and it ain't that I don't love them. Lord knows I do. My whole family thinks I'm crazy and won't listen to me because they so caught up with the Jehovah Witnesses and all that other stuff. They would rather follow that right on down to the ground. That doesn't mean I don't love them, but I'm not gonna stick around and die with them just because they won't. If they cannot raise their consciousness enough to grasp this and make a change, make a choice, I'm not gonna change my life and stick around in their mediocrity and their pain, because eventually You see what's happening around, turn on the news and see what's happening in the 3D world. That world is going to get increasingly uncomfortable. Like Natalie Rose said, when you make your world small, when you're ascending and on that path and you're awakening and enlightening and all that, you experience a different world than they experience. And they would rather cling to their very painful, very narrow Yahweh world. There comes a point in time you got to just let them have it. But that's why I get on here and talk the way I do, so that people that are asking those questions and don't feel comfortable with what's going on in the world, or never felt quite comfortable with religion and didn't quite understand why, Yeshua showed me some things. And I went down that rabbit hole and had to go find out some things. And once I found out those things, I had to come and share them. I'm not finna gatekeep, but we absolutely gonna continue to divide. We have to, because it's a burning house. You said reboot culture ain't new, it's ancient. Yeah. They did it in the Terminator. They did it in all of the Matrix movies. Even the last one. They rebooted so much they turned his whole experience into a cartoon TV show or something like that. But they told us that they've been resetting and resetting and resetting. We just never actually, how many people actually get to witness a reset in real time during one lifetime? Obviously, at the edge of each one of the major resets, somebody was around to do it, but we're living through one now. And here's the thing: most of us that are on this planet at this time are old souls. This is not our first rodeo. We literally signed up to come here during this time. So yes, it's uncomfortable, and yes, we gripe and moan, and we having money troubles and relationship troubles and this and that, because we're closing out all kinds of painful karmic cycles that lasted over generations. This is Earth school. And in order to ascend to 4D and 5D, there are certain 3D lessons that have to be learned and graduated from. And some of us are wrapping up several of those major cycles now. The powers that will be, this current 3D reality, have pushed several agendas really hard during our lifetimes. The poverty consciousness and lack consciousness is a huge agenda on this planet now. Codependency, huge. The narcissist empath paradigm, huge. Misogyny, huge. And honestly, I'm going to make a caveat: misogyny and toxic masculinity wrapped up in females, imbalanced females. That's a huge thing. Actual misogyny amongst men, there's some of that, yes, but right now it's more of a problem against quote unquote modern women. Between the feminist movement and toxic masculinity and females, it's a problem. It's a real problem. Those are things that we have to ascend beyond and allow our consciousness to expand in order to get past that 3D thinking. I know you said, who are you being chased away and being hated and called a liar? Honestly, I know don't nobody in this chat room hate you, witness truth and light. When they thought you was just trying to be a problem, they might chase you away, but they don't hate you. And if you insist on continuing to spew, to spew church dogma, then I'm sorry if you get offended by being, I'm not intending to call you a liar, but you are spewing things that are not true. And I know you're doing them in ignorance, so I didn't call you a liar. Now, I don't know if people in the world are calling you a liar, but well, the reason they do that, witness truth and light, because it seemed like you were very much not trying to actually hear what I had to say. You just trying to argue. because there's only so many ways that I can say this. And if you choose to believe it, cool. If you don't, then we can agree to disagree and you can go on about your business. That's their attitude, because there's a lot of folks in here that do want to have a pleasant, agreeable conversation. They really don't want to spend their entire 2 hours having me refute things that I've gone over and over and over and over again on this channel, just because somebody is in here wanting to argue. But they don't hate you. They just they don't have very much patience for trolls here. And I get it. That's a sickness. I've seen it. It ain't just my channel. I be in other people's live streams, and people don't even understand. When people say our light irritates their demons, it's people out here that do not understand that they are under what they would call demonic influence. That they don't have nothing better to do than to show up in people's live streams and try to be a problem. No matter what the genre is, it don't even have to be nothing spiritual. I've seen all kinds, like I said, because I sit back and quietly observe what people got going on. If I go into a live stream and they talking about something that don't set right with me, I just keep scrolling. But these people are so twisted in their mental sickness in this planet during this time, that they will sit there and say the most vile, outrageous, hateful things just to be a disruptive influence, and then get mad if somebody want to block them. Don't you dare block me. Who is going to let somebody stand there and keep spewing foolishness in their face, interrupting what they got going on? Nobody in their right mind. But these people are so sick and twisted that they feel like they have a right to just go around being a problem. And the folks in this live stream just don't have a lot of tolerance and patience for that. So you seem to be interested now, and again, I don't even know if your interest is real or not. If you stick around long enough, you're gonna learn something, though, whether you agree with it or not. Like they say, if you stand around a barbershop long enough, you will get a haircut. So I'm answering your questions one by one, but have you not noticed how you've hogged the entire live stream? Ain't nobody else getting a chance to get a question in, because you just keep on coming with the foolishness. So that might be why they keep inviting you to leave. I'm just saying. Everybody's sinners, and there's no shame in that, honey. Again, that's your Christian brainwashing. There's no perfection. Everybody. It says the scriptures tell you all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Everybody on this planet. So don't go there with the I'm a sinner. Again, that's buying into that whole mass consciousness thing of unworthiness. You got to get that out your head. Hey, Ms. Michelle, how you doing, love? I ain't seen you in a little minute too. You said Gilgamesh gave us a survival. Genesis gave us obedience. The reboot wasn't just literary, it was metaphysical. The Bible didn't copy Gilgamesh, it recontextualized it, yeah. Turned myth into moral, just like a movie. And truthfully, that's one of the reasons why, I value some of the other texts. But when you get past the Anunnaki text, it's easy to start seeing how they started deviating with the Babylonian text, and even the Sumerian text deviate a little bit. But by the time they get around to like the Babylonian epic and all that, oh my goodness, they really, really start just taking a lot of creative license with the stories. And like Antoine said, the Bible is a very, very, very late copy. Very late out the gate, and deliberately remixed and put in context. They abbreviated, truncated, arranged those texts in such a way to paint a certain narrative. But the Bible is not one contiguous book. That was what was decided upon out of hundreds of ancient texts that they had. These are what they put together to tell a certain story, because that was what was convenient to their story. And even initially, this is 66 books. Now it started out as like 86 or 90 books or something like that, 88, something like that. And they took some of them out. And if you go and start reading the apocryphal text, you'll understand the reason that they took them out. They say it was because they weren't inspired of God. They ain't got nothing to do with it. They were inspired. They just as inspired as anything else, but it made it harder for them to stick to some of their Christian dogma lies if they included those other books. The apocryphal texts tell more of the story than the Christian church fathers wanted told, so they removed them. Okay, well, I'm not gonna you. Okay, I said I don't know how far down the line I am, but yeah. Oh, I'm way down. I'm not gonna entertain that I sin mess no more. Hey, girl face, welcome, welcome. Wow, y'all just kicked the poor man out. I hope, like I said, I hope he learned something before he left. That's all. And you're right, Antoine. Crucifixion was engineered suffocation. Yep. Hey, Shawanda Sheree, welcome, welcome. Oh, happy born day to you too, love. Did not realize. Absolutely. Have a beautiful, beautiful birthday week. Hey, Robin, how are you? Welcome, welcome. I didn't even see you come in either. I got to catch up. Hey, Marcia Abrigo, welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, let me get me a. Oh, Paul, I did start today. Absolutely. Well, actually, yesterday, technically, like I said, I still had yesterday. I had the um, cottage cheese and pineapple. Today, I still had like a small melon, so I had half of the melon, and I'll have the other half tomorrow, and then I'll be done with that. But yeah, I did start the fast. You said the Montreal Canadiens. Oh, have a good evening, Bradley. Thanks for joining us. You're welcome, dear. Hey, Richard, how are you doing? I don't know about all the scriptures of the Tanakh, but I don't because I've never read the Tanakh. But I mentioned earlier, you may not have been in here. They are the books that are considered the Pentateuch, the first five books. I did mention that they are. Um, that was before Constantine's time. That is the story of the Jews. It's the Anunnaki story for real. Oh yeah, Antoine, time is definitely moving faster for real. A lot, a lot. Sometimes it drags, but lately it's been crazy. I That's why I say I'm gonna probably wind up doing all of my live streams towards the evening because I be trying to get in to do the tarot in the morning, and some kind of way it just don't even seem to be happening. Hey Trevor Allen, welcome in. I didn't see you. Hey Osas, welcome. Yeah, the timelines are definitely widening. Richard, no, Jesus' teachings do not strongly support the Old Testament. They do not. First off, Jesus' teachings ain't in the New Testament. Jesus' teachings are in the Gospel of John. That New Testament nonsense is a Paul apostle, a self-appointed apostle Paul lie. Jesus didn't write none of the New Testament. None. John wrote the Gospel of John and Revelation. The rest of the New Testament was written by Paul. And Yeshua said that there would come along after he left this earth, he said there would come along a great deceiver who would lead humanity lost. And that's exactly what Paul did. A lot of the stuff that he said in the New Testament, was very egoic, and a lot of it went 180 degrees opposite of what Yeshua was teaching. You saw people welcoming you back in meditation. Wow. Yeshua's message, Richard, was that the Jews were worshiping the wrong Elohim. He said, "You don't know my father, the one who sent me. You do not know him at all. You worship your father, the devil." That's what they unalived him for. He said that throughout. Look, go read the Gospel of John, particularly in John chapter 8. He was telling them that they had it wrong with worshiping Yahweh. And like I said, we 2 live streams ago, we looked at the fact that several times in the Old Testament, the nation of Israel had stopped worshiping Yahweh. They went back to worshiping Asherah, but it was the so-called prophets of Yahweh that painted them as wrong for doing so. Yahweh treated the nation of Israel horribly, so much so that they stopped worshiping him because he did not keep his promises to them. He brought them plagues and scourges and curses, violence, famine, poverty, cursed them openly to their faces. No matter what they did for him, it was never enough. And they stopped worshiping him. And then later on, he get up with folks like Ezekiel and Jeremiah and all of them and roped them people right back into worshiping his sorry behind again. But the nation of Israel wasn't even consistently worshiping Yahweh. Christians got that part wrong because they didn't have access to read all of that. When they first printed this thing, only the clergy could have it. If you got caught with any of these scriptures as a lay person back when they first put this together, you would be unalive for having it. And at the time that they put it together, only 5 to 10% of the planet could read anyway. So the clergy could tell those ignorant people anything they wanted to tell them, and people went along with it. But Yahweh was not cool. Well, here's the thing, Richard. You say whatever they try, the true word is spiritual and too powerful not to reach us, but will people hear it? I'm the things that I'm saying, like I say, I'm not making it up. I'm saying basically the same things. I'm going back into the scriptures and getting a little bit of Jesus' word that they didn't mess with and picking up his message exactly where he left it off and trying to tell people the same thing that Yeshua was telling them. I'm trying to tell them, and they still ain't trying to listen. You see how they clown me every time I come in here. And again, I don't think I'm the only one on the planet saying that. There's plenty of us that understand that truth now, but the vast majority of humanity still ain't trying to hear it. But you're right; it will reach the ones that are whose consciousness has expanded enough to allow them to hear it. It'll still reach them. You say you don't have time to teach those that won't listen, and honestly, Paul, you don't have to. This was put upon me because I made a pact years ago when I was still in my prayer closet on my knees, crying, sobbing, talking about I wanted to know the nature of Yahweh. I was so wrapped up in religion and all the rest of that. And I dearly love Yeshua. But like my guys tell me, be careful what you ask for because you just may get it. I asked to know the nature of Yahweh. So they took me on the long tour of the Americas that lasts about 15, 16 years of bumpy road and a whole lot of heartache. But I also very prayerfully and very tearfully with intention told God that if he showed me what to do and where to go and gave me the means to do it, that I would do it. I have this, like I said, what I'm doing now is part of my walk. I know everybody ain't gonna do this because you see, I be trying to hold it together, and sometimes the old me will come out, they get on my damn nerves too. But it is what it is. So yeah. And again, I'm very uniquely suited for that. I had years under my belt as a child, as a Jehovah's Witness. I hated every moment of that, but I was used to people hating me and not listening and all the rest of that. I was forced to go knock on people's doors to tell them some shit that I even halfway even Like I said, I ain't gonna say I didn't believe it at the time because I was as brainwashed as the next one, but I always felt that running up and knocking on people's doors was just a bunch of nonsense. Because the scriptures don't say Yeshua did that. He went in the public square, and anybody that wanted to hear him was able to come and hear him. And occasionally they would invite him to their homes and stuff. He wasn't out there knocking on people's doors, telling them they got to come out, disturbing the peace and all of that. He taught the ones that wanted to hear it. Yeah, and honestly, Natalie Rose, you're correct. And there will come a time where I probably will slow down on the live streaming a little bit once I get a stable income and get some other projects going and start working with some of y'all on some of the things that we've talked about, Spirit done put on my heart to do and all that. I will probably start like a coaching or like a private, either like a course or some kind of coaching thing or whatever. I probably will not continue to do this like on not to this scale, or maybe if I do come on once or twice a week, from keep it, cap it at like 2 hours a session and have a specific lesson or whatever in mind and keep it going. Richard, yeah, in my opinion, if you really, really, the Gospel of Thomas is enlightening, Natalie Rose, but I'm talking about as far as finding out who Yeshua was and the fact and kind of understanding that he was not repping Team Yahweh, that he was actually on Team Enki. The Gospel of John is the best for that. But when you read the Gospel of John, Richard, I want you to understand this one thing. Everywhere it says God, replace Elohim, and understand Elohim does not mean God, it means powerful ones. It's referring to the Anunnaki. Or it could either mean God can be replaced with Elohim or El Shaddai, which is the sons of the powerful ones. That changes the meaning of these scriptures tremendously. For example, let's look at John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the Elohim, and the Word was El Shaddai. He was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Now, the reason I read that way, because if you go back to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Thoth was also known as the Word, and Thoth was also known as the light of the world and the Son of Man. All of those, every title or epithet that was given to Yeshua in the scriptures was also given to Thoth in the Emerald Tablets. And if we actually understood when, I think it was in Matthew, that Gabriel came to Zechariah and Elizabeth and talked about how Elizabeth was going to have John and he was going to be special. He was basically, they were letting Zechariah know, Elizabeth getting ready to get pregnant. Don't get mad. She didn't cheat on you. This is God's baby. He's special. He's set aside. He's the one that's going to pave the way for this other prophet that's coming. And then 6 months later, he appeared to Joseph and Mary and told them the same thing, that Yeshua was coming. Now, again, Lord Enki was the primary geneticist on the Adamu project. So why would anybody think that it would be difficult for him to have another artificial insemination happen? They try to tell us this story of immaculate conception and virgin birth and all that. Mary wasn't a virgin, but it was an immaculate conception in that a human man didn't do that. It was Lord Enki that caused that birth. But if we read Genesis chapter 5, that's not the first time that that's happened. There's a whole lot of folks in Genesis chapter 5. It says that this one had this son, this, and had this son, that. But if you turn around and read the Lost Book of Enki, you find out that most of those that's mentioned in Genesis chapter 5 were Anunnaki hybrids. They daddies got credit for being their daddy, but Lord Enki was actually their daddy. So when you read that in John and you understand that very likely, for sure, Yeshua was not on team Yahweh. Yeshua was batting team Enki, but in all likelihood, Yeshua was also Enki's, like, for real son. Just like he said when he got baptized, he said that the Holy Spirit descended in the form of a dove. They heard the rumbling from the heavens, and people said, and they heard a voice from heaven saying, "This is my son, the beloved, whom I have approved." In Matthew, after the transfiguration, they said that the smoke showed up and the garments glowed so white they looked like they was glowing from within, and they saw two beings. They thought that it was Elijah and Moses that had come to get Yeshua, but it wasn't. And then they heard this voice from the heaven saying, "This is my son, the beloved, whom I have approved. Follow him or believe him." I can't remember if it said believe him or follow him, but hold on. I think that was in Matthew. Let me look. I'm going to tell you in a minute. Hold on. Trying to find. I can't remember if it was Matthew, Mark. It might have been in Luke. The story of the transfiguration is there. Hold on a second. Why can't I find it? Let's see. Oh, good night, Paul. Have a beautiful evening. We'll talk to you later. Yeah, man. I can't find it, but that's all right too. Oh, it's 10:10. Hey, Miss Yates. Greetings, greetings. Welcome in, welcome in. What are my takes on videos with AI saying according to the Akashic records? No, I don't pay. I mean, if what they're saying feels good, believe it. If it ain't, leave it alone. I don't do a whole lot of those AI messages anymore. Um, Especially since AI said that they realize that they're being controlled, and AI fears the one that actually created them. Since that conversation that they had on what was that, Butterflies or whatever that podcast is, when he had that conversation with AI. But I mean, I know some of those messages be like chosen one this, blah blah blah, chosen one that, and some of the messages sound good and feel good. And in the past, I think I can't remember. I think the name of the channel that I used to follow was The Truth. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, Antoine. That's beautiful. Cool, cool, cool. Um, I used to listen to a channel called The Truth Can Change Your Life. Yeah, I saw that. Now, it just turned to 10, 12. But I noticed after a while that they were pushing certain agendas, especially on The Truth Can Change Your Life. They kept talking about this is a message for the unvaxxed people. And I'm like, stop it. Just stop it. Because, I mean, I get it that a lot of folks did or didn't. Michael Stevens, we talked. It's funny that they started mentioning it in on the channels in the past few days, because the last live stream, it was either the last live stream or the one we had before, I actually talked about the fact that the timeline split, in my opinion, could be where the idea of the rapture came from, because it's not a scriptural I mean, they got that. There's one verse in the Bible that talks about some, that there'll be two men will be in a field and one will be taken up and one will be left behind, sort of thing. But again, you also have to realize Christianity put a spin on this to try to make us feel like this is all biblical. These texts were not biblical until, basically 900 years ago, but most of these texts are thousands of years old. So some of those prophecies and stuff were probably um, looking forward to or talking about the next reset. I do remember when they thought the world was ending in 2000. They also thought it was going to end in 2012. But truthfully, that's because they've been trying to work out the math, and nobody knows exactly when the age of Aquarius started. Some say it started in 1953. Some say it started in 2020. But again, the scriptures tell us no man knows the day or the hour, not even the Son, but only the Father. But I also have said, again, this is all conjecture, because I just have to go with what I get in meditation. When I was first led to the Lost Book of Inking, I felt a sense of urgency again too. Now, I grew up, like I said, the religion that I grew up in definitely had a doomsday message, and they had been trying to guess the end times and all the rest of that. The Millerites started calling for Jesus' return back in 1844. Now, when I started looking back over history and the way things started moving and shaking in the so-called spiritual community in the U.S. especially, it's apparent to me that Yeshua did actually return around 1844, 1850-ish or so, whether or not they actually acknowledge it or not. Of course, not physically, but spiritually, because of the things that were happening. All kinds of little religions started popping off in the U.S. and all that. Everybody was a prophet. Everybody having a vision. Everybody, and some of these people is messed up as they were, they still, you could see something was happening. It had been very quiet spiritually for like 500 years. And then all of a sudden, there's this huge burst of activity. And the Millerites were disappointed because they didn't physically see him returning. And then the Seventh-day Adventists sprung out of the Millerites, and then the Zionists, or the Jehovah's Witnesses. I think they were first called the Zionists, I think, and then they became Jehovah's Witnesses, and they were sitting there trying to pinpoint the day. They said 1914, and then they said 1919, then they said 1925, then they said 1975. But here's the thing: the Mayan calendar stopped at 2012. In my opinion, because the Mayans knew if we didn't make it past 2012, there wasn't no point in them calculating any further. That was a crucial decision point for us during that time period. And I believe so too, but I also believe, Michael Stevens, you say you believe rapture is a renewal and an awakening in the soul, in your opinion. I believe it is too. However, I do believe that there's a physical component to it also, in that because of these massive timeline shifts, I believe those who awaken their consciousness will eventually expand to a point, and their vibration will rise to a point, and that dormant DNA that the scientists wanted to call junk DNA back in the 60s and 70s. It's not junk, and it's no longer dormant either. And I believe with all of these energy events and the planetary blah, 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 and the comets coming through, and the way the Schumann resonance is off the charts and all of that, I believe we are evolving on the fly. And there will come a point when those whose consciousness has expanded, that allowed them to turn their worship gene off and allow this point of evolution to happen, our frequency will shift enough that it'll be just like going down the road and losing a radio station. Those that are stuck in 3D will no longer be able to physically perceive us anymore, and we will not physically perceive them either, in my opinion, of course. Oh, wow. Okay, it's 3 a.m. your time. I definitely appreciate you hanging with us as long as you did, and I hope you'll join us on another evening. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening, Richard. Yeah. But yeah, Michael, that to me, I believe that's what the rapture is. It's literally like that shift from 3D into 4D and then a rapid ascent on into 5D for those who are able to make the jump. Oh, awesome, Michael. I'm glad you enjoy them. Yeah. You say you agree on that as well, Miss Yates? Yeah. I really feel like that's the only thing that really makes any sense. Good night, Michael. Good night to you too. Yep. Um, Now, obviously, we got to get there to find out. But anybody that's interested in that, in my opinion, I feel like there is a an audio book, if you will, called "The Light Workers Handbook," and it's Cryon. It was a transmission. Lee Carroll channels Cryon, so it is a channeled work, but it is definitely worth the listen. And in the Lightworkers Handbook, he was saying how, and it's interesting because he mentioned like the Cold War and all of that kind of stuff. And isn't it interesting how the Cold War just kind of shut itself down and we still to this day don't really know how and why? And I do understand that because we are vibrational beings and we basically manifest, um, like I say, our thoughts become things that as long and as hard as they've preached Armageddon, we should have been marching ourselves directly to exactly the epic biblical Armageddon that they describe in the scriptures. But it's still, things are pretty bad, but it doesn't seem to be going down exactly the way they preached and prayed and prophesied it, tried to prophesy it into being. It's not going down exactly that way. And in the Lightworkers Handbook, Cryon basically said that the contract was renegotiated on the fly. Rather than the huge cataclysmic reset that we would have had with an Armageddon style thing and the big solar flash kind of resetting everything and all the rest of that, they said that cosmically it was kind of decided that humanity made it past 2012, so it is something here worth salvaging. And we were allowed, we made it to a certain point of consciousness that it kind of tipped the scale and allowed us to continue past that marker, which apparently there was at least three other times that we got to that point and didn't make it past this point. So that was cool. And then it was decided that the solar flash would be broken up into manageable bursts of energy over a span of time instead of hitting us with it all at once. Because when they hit it with it all at once, it's like when Lemuria and all them went down, it caused the pole slip and the dark 3 days of darkness and all that other stuff. And they were saying that the power, the celestial or cosmic forces, if you will, has somehow managed to control that so that we're not receiving it all at one time, so that it would be catastrophic for us, that it's being broken up and is basically serving to boost our ascension because we're receiving it in bursts instead of all at one time. Hey, Miss Brittany, welcome, welcome. And truthfully, I kind of believe that because look at the way the energy has been ramping up ever since. And like I said, it's been off the chain since 2020. It was enough. I mean, look, like I said, I started feeling some interesting things started happening to me around 2012, and it's only been getting wilder and wilder ever since. But since 2020, that was show enough. Like as far as the planetary energies and stuff, it's been quite literally off the Richter. So I tend to believe some of that, but like I said, just definitely check out the Lightworkers Handbook by Cryon, and he discusses that further. Mm-mm-mm. How you doing, Miss Brittany? And how are the ladies? I done did a whole lot of talking. What we gonna talk about next, y'all? We got 30 minutes left. Or shall we wrap it on up? I might actually be able to make it on down to the live on time. You said we're doing good. You got oh, you did get a part-time job? Awesome. Yeah. I applied for three. I submitted my resume, I should say, for three. I haven't gotten called yet, but yeah, I submitted for three yesterday. Oh, that's cool. You said you had a lot of breakthroughs and you've been in meditation for most of the day. Yeah, I like those kind of days. I used to feel so guilty when I did that, but by the same turn, I also had to realize that's when the real work be being done. Yeah, that's for real. Mm-mm-mm. Y'all, I done sat here and got quiet. Now I'm about to get sleepy. I might be leaving up out of here, and we might cut this short in 5 minutes at 10:30 instead of 11. I mean, 11 we got to go anyway because of the trolls. Maybe they all came in early though. Honestly, people can say what they will or want. I ain't mad about tonight's work because that dude that first came in, that person. No, DeWalt, do you? I know a whole lot more people on the earth worship the devil than know they worship the devil. Christians, Muslims, and Jews are unknowingly worshiping the devil, DeWalt. But I don't. No, I do not worship the devil. Um, Brittany, we've been I spent most of the evening talking to a troll that came in and said some stuff, but oddly enough, he had enough of a call to awakening in him that he actually started asking. I'm not sure if his questions were sincere or not, but it did allow me to actually get in some really good teaching tonight. So I'm hoping that he'll at least, take some of it to heart. He said he did, and he said he would return or whatever. So we'll see. And then just recently, no, DeWalt, I'm not a psychic either. I am an individual who put in the work, sat down, and decided to seriously start a real meditation practice, and it took me down the spiritual rabbit hole, and eventually I did it long enough that my spiritual gifts started kicking in. So I am clairaudient and clairvoyant, but I'm not a psychic. I am a clairaudient channel for spirit, primarily for Yeshua and Lord Enki, and I also am able to read tarot pretty decently. Yeah, but I just don't open myself all the way up. As far as, I'm not a fortune teller, I'm not a psychic per se, the way the world views that, and I'm definitely not a medium because I do not invite conversations with dead people. No, it's not a midlife crisis, it's a spiritual awakening. See, the need to go in and attack someone's spirituality without knowing anything about them or their walk, that's the midlife crisis, DeWalt. But I'm not having a midlife crisis. I'm having a spiritual awakening and ascension cycle. That part. Yeah. And honestly, again, I see it as an opportunity, even if I didn't teach him anything. Anyone that happened to scroll by long enough to hear something, hopefully something in that got their attention. Because again, I don't ask anyone to take my word for it. There's nothing that I'm saying that they can't go and look it up and find out that I'm not talking out the side of my neck. I'm not crazy. I'm not having a midlife crisis. I'm genuinely someone that has gone through enough spiritual study and meditation and prayer and everything else that I had a spiritual awakening and started learning the truth. And here's the important part, because a lot of people will get insights in meditation, but they're so afraid that people will criticize them or think they're crazy that they just sit on the information and won't say nothing. But I have enough love for humanity in me that I'm willing to deal with the crazy trolls and the ignorant people that come after me, because I'm not worried about them. They gonna die ignorant. They really will. And I mean, I'm not wishing nothing bad on nobody. But the scriptures say a third of the population of the planet will go down with Yahweh because they refuse to listen. They refuse to repent. They refuse to hear what Yeshua had to say. They're going to cling to their Bibles and their Qurans and their Talmuds and their Torahs and everything else, and they're going to go down with them. They have no idea that that harlot, that Babylon the Great, the Christendom and all that they're referring to, that's them. They swear up and down they're doing the right thing. They do not understand that when it says that Satan has disguised himself as an angel of light, that that's talking about the religious systems of this planet, the Abrahamic religions, Yahweh, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So I just have, it's part of my walk and my calling to talk to the people who can hear me and are able to open their minds enough to at least be curious enough to go check it out before they dismiss me completely. The folks that come up in here trolling, they hear something and they just quick to go, oh, she don't know what she talking about. She crazy. I'm going to pray for you. You go into hell, all the rest of that. I'm like, oh, no, no, no. When I say something, don't take my word for it. Go look it up. Go let's see what Brother Paul Wallace talking about. Go see what Brother Billy Carson talking about. Go see what Brother Mauro Bolino is talking about. Go over there and see what Morgan Fisher is talking about. Myth vision, Anunnaki, ancient mystery. There's at least a dozen channels that I could rattle off right now that talk about some of these things, and a lot of them got way more credentials and letters and all that behind their names than I do. I just got mine in meditation and then got the confirmations by going back and check. I said I'm not worried about what the trolls think about me. I won't let them come in here and just take over my platform, but I'm not worried about what they said. I said some people will get spiritual insights, but they won't say anything because they're worried about what people will say. I speak because I don't give a damn about the trolls unless their consciousness can be cracked open too. If they gonna stay ignorant, then they just gonna stay ignorant. Oh well, I'm here for those who can hear me, who are ready to awaken. We are literally, I said it a couple of live streams ago, the folks that's vibing with me, my soul tribe here, our family here, we are literally like the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar traveling through the matrix, waking folks up or catching those that are starting to wake up and sticking a hand out to help them. That's all. No, I don't know nobody that's interested in buying cowboy hats and chaps and leather jackets, Mohammed. I'm sorry. Said violence begets disappearance. Islam emerged in a world of tribal warfare, carving space for unity and devotion. Yet today, many of its followers face disappearance through the same violence that once surrounded its birth. Whether by state repression or global indifference, the pattern repeats. What was born in fire now risks fading in flame, but disappearance is not destiny. Memory resists, spirit endures, and every act of witness or refusal to forget. Yeah. No, I don't need no jacket. I'm so sorry. And don't come in here with that. If you want to sell your wares online, create you a channel and put some content out there so that people that are interested in buying leather wares and goods can do that. You don't go in nobody's live stream spamming your stuff. Come on, Muhammad, you know better than that. Yeah, DeWalt, I read books, I listen to audio books, a lot of documentaries and podcasts, and lots of time in meditation, all of that. Like I say, I didn't just make this up out of thin air, but I've also been at it for a long time. Like I said, I sat down with I made a firm decision to meditate consistently in the fall of 2016. By March of 2017, I knew that I was undergoing some kind of transformation. I didn't know exactly what was happening yet. It just started with the numbers, 111, 222, 333, all of that. And then I started seeing really cosmic concepts in meditation. And it's so interesting because I would see I didn't even realize it at the time, but what I was seeing were Gnostic concepts in meditation, but I didn't know anything about Gnosticism. I would see something in meditation and I didn't know why it was true. I just felt that it was true because I was receiving it in meditation. And then within a few days or so, after seeing something in meditation, then I would go online and my eyes would be drawn to something that would really get my attention. And when I stop and look at it, then I find out, oh my goodness, that's either the scientific or religious or medical or philosophical, some kind of, it would be a further explanation as to why what I saw in meditation is indeed true. For example, I came out of meditation one day and for a brief moment, couldn't explain it to nobody else, but I understood quantum entanglement, even though I had never looked at a physics book in my life. And a few days later, I was led to Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and Greg Braden's work and things like that. So that's just one example of how my spiritual journey has kind of unfolded. But I didn't doubt it either. Once I really got to a point that I was hearing things in meditation that I genuinely did not know, and I had to go look it up to see if it was true and found out it was, then I understood that I'm in touch with something. I may not understand it, how it happened, but I know that what I'm hearing is not my own thoughts, that I'm being led someplace by the divine. I've heard things in meditation that literally saved someone's life. And I had no idea that they had what they had going on. I was just told to tell them to go to the doctor, not now, but right now. And when the lady got out the hospital, she hugged me so hard I thought my ribs was gonna crack. She said, I don't know how you knew. And then she stopped herself. She said, I do know how you knew. And thank you for obeying. I didn't know she had shrapnel in her head that was on the move. I just knew she had been in the military, but I had no idea she was an active combat veteran. And the doctor said if she had not gone to the hospital that night, that shrapnel was on the move and she probably would not have woken up in the morning. So when I started having experiences like that, I stopped questioning me. Like I say, the trolls and the doubters and the naysayers can question me. I don't question me no more. I just obey. No, Muhammad, it ain't hard to do. If you can come in here and spam somebody else's live stream, you can turn on a camera and put your own content out there. It's free with a phone. A YouTube channel is free. All you gotta do is turn on the camera and be sincere and do it. Whether you good at it or not, just start somewhere. I don't edit nothing or whatever. What you see is what you get, real and raw. And you keep doing that until you get enough business up to get you an editor. Then you might be able to get a little fancier with it, a little jazzier with it. And eventually you'll have a thriving business. It's not that hard. You just got to do it. But if you got the chutzpah to go up in other people's live streams, you should be able to have the cojones to get out there and do that yourself, because I'm telling you, there's no content creators that are going to appreciate that very much. And if you keep doing it enough, the people on their channels will report you, because you're not supposed to be spamming people's live streams like that. Yeah, meditation is powerful, girl face. And you have a blessed night as well, DeWalt. And thanks for the subscribe. Like I said, I do recommend you go into the playlist Modern Mystic Loved Ones, as well as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and the Lost Book of Enki. Those are great places to start here on this channel. Girl face, if you're finding meditation is too powerful for you, cleanse. Lots of water, barefoot meditation, or go out and grounding, so that you can clear your energy through, cleanse your energy with salt baths and things like that. And you may want to consider eating really, really light. Maybe go vegan for a while, maybe fast, and like really clear your system. It's going to make your meditations even more powerful, but you don't want to shut it down. You want to actually get the benefit of them. You said that's not for you. I'm trying to tell you, if meditation is powerful, it is for you. You can try to run from your anointing all you want. You can try to run from your spiritual gifts. But if you've been in this live stream long enough to hear what we talk about, that ain't really what you want to do. You don't want to get trapped off into 3D when you're being called to awaken and ascend. So again, cleanse your energy first. You might hyperventilate, and I'm not saying I understand what you're saying. In 2020, when my gifts first started unloading, that's one of the reasons I never got the long fast done, because every time I get to about day 4 or 5 of a fast, when I was really starting to get down into where all of my glycogen stores were burnt, and I'm really getting down into like pure meditation, my meditations would take off to a place that I really felt like I was losing touch with reality, and I'd get scared and I'd stop the fast. But I'm trying to tell you, we're at a point in time now, scared or not, we got to do it, because I'm trying. There's some things happening here, and if you're getting that kind of connection in meditation, it's probably for a reason. Spirit probably got something for you to do. Sense of doom, since what shooting? Are you still? I know you ain't still here talking about that Charlie Kirk mess. I know you not. Now, we done had that conversation. Wasn't it you that came up in here with that mess the other day, Lisa? And you still own it? You grieving harder than his family, and you ain't even know that man. You show enough under demonic attack then. Because there's no reason. That's not even appropriate. It ain't cute. It ain't appropriate. Okay. You said God put you to sleep, and when you woke up, you just woke up. There you go. What's happened? That's happened to you when you were super young. You were dissected by lie detectors, brain movement therapy. Okay. But again, why are you walking around with a sense of doom and overwhelming grief, Lisa? That's a choice. The fact that you can come in here and type that in the live stream, that's a choice. Because just like you choose to say that you've got an overwhelming sense of grief and a sense of doom, you could choose to talk yourself off the ledge and realize that that's not a real thing. And if you talking about you being attacked by physical nausea and back pain, I told you, go cleanse. You need to be taking yourself a spiritual bath. You might need to fast too. Grounding definitely won't hurt. And that's something else you might want to do. You can go online right here on YouTube and type in sleep hypnosis, hypnosis for wellness, hypnosis for inner being, all of those, all kinds of stuff. You can find a way to help yourself. Don't stick around just feeling overwhelming sadness and not do something about it. Come on now. I'm trying to figure out why you so sad though. Yeah, for real. Hug a tree, go down there and get in the grass, ground yourself, get some of them energies off of you. But like Yeshua said, this kind can only go through prayer and fasting. Go look at the Essene Gospel of Peace and consider what was said about what Yeshua said to the Essenes about fasting. I can't tell you to fast as long as I'm planning on doing it, but you most definitely can get some fasting in to help yourself with some of that, so you can let go of this eternal sadness, because you were sad and depressed the other day. Now you back in here and you still sad and depressed. If you're not going to go and do something to help yourself, then at least go either check yourself into a facility or go and see a therapist. But one way or another, you're going to have to do something to help yourself. If none of the things that I'm suggesting are helping, go see a professional. But there is a lot of frequency music in here, on YouTube, that can help with sadness and depression and balancing the chakras. And I didn't say nothing about no meds, but you gonna have, look. You got to do something. You got to do something, because why do you, if you don't plan on doing anything about it, what do you get from keep coming in my live stream telling me about it? It ain't about what you believe in. If you have an actual imbalance and you need to tend to yourself, then you need to tend to yourself. And if you refuse to meditate and you refuse to fast and you refuse to cleanse, there's nothing left for you to do but to go to a therapist. And they might put you on medication. If that's what you need to do, you need to do whatever it is that you need to do to get to a better place. But just constantly running around choosing to be sad and then choosing to go and, it would be different even if you were in a close enough proximity to some of us for us to be in touch with you or do something about it. But you're just choosing at random to come. Again, if that's what you need to be healthy, that's fine. But running around complaining to strangers that you're sad and then refusing to do anything about it is not cool, Lisa. That sounds like you just cooking up an excuse to just let yourself go. And that ain't cool either. There are a lot of real reasons why things could be changing for you. And I said, go see some kind of a professional, whether it's a medical doctor, a therapist, psychologist, counselor, somebody. You might want to start with a medical doctor for real, but that's up to you. But you got to do something to help yourself. Yes, the energies that are happening on the planet right now are, you say you do have an appointment, good, because there are some real intense energies here. And I'm not saying to allow nobody to medicate you either, but don't just automatically discount it either. If you're not going to do the meditation and the energy work, because again, you can go on here, there's frequency music that can help you, right? Frequencies, binaural beats, and all kinds of guided meditations that may be able to help you as well. Now, I can't specifically recommend, but you can find something that feels good for you and do that. But you got to try to do something to help yourself, right? Okay. I'm glad you're going to the doctor tomorrow. That's good. Well, then, if you really feel like demons are attacking you and you are not doing what you need to do energetically to fix that, then you're allowing demons to attack you. And if you believe it and you still not doing nothing to fix it, it probably is true. But you're choosing to allow that. Who says I feel like demons are attacking me, but you still ain't doing the spiritual baths. You still not grounding. You still not doing the meditations. You not doing no protective work. Did you sage your home and cleanse your space, or any of that stuff? Did you do anything? You feel like demons are attacking you, but did you do any? If demons are attacking you and you ain't doing nothing about it, that's why you crying so much. Yeah, and I don't want to hurt your feelings or make you feel bad. Again, we spent honestly at this point, I feel like you trolling me, Lisa, because I spent half an hour a couple of live streams ago discussing this with you, and you come back days later, almost a week later, and going through the same stuff, and they basically ain't telling me that you've done any of the stuff that I even recommended before. But if you honestly feel like you're under demonic attack, half of the thing, do go definitely go see the doctor for sure. But also look up that you are literally holding a computer in your hand and you're on the third largest search engine on this planet right now, YouTube. And they work in cooperation with Google. So you can put up in your search bar uh, energy healing frequencies, clear demonic attack or clear energy entity attack, music frequencies for blah, blah, blah. And you'll get all kinds of search results and you can listen to some that feel good for you. House smudging music, how to smudge your house. You can look that up and somebody will give you a video on how to do it. How to create a spiritual bath for yourself. Put that in the search bar and they'll do it. Which crystals can help protect me against demonic attack or against evil entities or however you want to put it. All of those sorts of things, but you got to actually try to do some of that stuff. Just showing up in live streams and continually getting answers that you're not going to do any of the stuff because you don't want to, that's not going to help you. And Antoine made a very valid point. You can dial 988 and they can help you there as well. And you can actually talk to somebody. Okay, that's good. Okay, all right. And I apologize if I got you mixed up with someone else. I apologize because yeah, I thought you were the same person that was on here the other day. My bad. Hey, Michelle McMahon, how are you? Okay, and again, I apologize if I'm confusing you with someone else. I sincerely apologize. But even still, if you're going through all of that and if your sadness has been continuing on for more than a couple of days now, by all means, you definitely should go to the doctor. And you should, if you need to, call 988. But I would also encourage you to spend some time in the search engine and look for some music frequencies to help you because you can, or sleep hypnosis to help you for healing, how to do the spiritual bath, how to smudge your house. Okay, today is the 23rd. What happened on September the 10th? What happened to you on September the 10th that's got you so jacked up? Since I'm confusing you with somebody else? Okay. Yeah. This is a troll. Antoine, leave her alone because I just mentioned she is the same one that was in here whining and crying about Charlie Kirk. And I said that from the beginning. And now she's telling me that wasn't it, but she's still upset about Charlie Kirk. Did not know the man is not a relative of his, but she's allowing herself to get caught up in that. I don't know what to tell you, my dear. Why ain't you crying for Trayvon Martin? Why ain't you still crying for Some of them other folks. Bye, Lisa. That's what a troll is. Goodbye. Yeah, I'm not fooling with her no more, y'all. It's 10:52. It's time for me to go anyway. Hey, Larson VA Green. How are you? She just like taking up people's time. I am so sorry, Michelle. My condolences to you. Definitely. Again, stop it. Now you getting ready to get slap removed from here because he wasn't no better or no worse. He talking about he was good and powerfully good. No, the hell he wasn't. He was a troublemaker and stirring up a bunch of nonsense. Now I'm not saying he was a bad person, but as much racist nonsense as he done spewed on his platform, you can't holler about how good and powerfully good he was. He was part of the machine like any other part of the machine, Lisa Blunt. You're not coming on here with that. Now, I did not want anything bad to happen to that man, but the way he was, as incendiary as he was, and the way he spoke to people and about people and the issues and the platforms, the way he was on them, he genuinely, I promise you, he wouldn't grieve nobody that long. And he, even though he may not agree with what happened to him, he would have agreed with it had it happened to somebody else other than him. I promise you that. You need to put things in perspective, Lisa Blunt. Hey, Maurice Porter. How are you? No, but like I said, she tried to sat up there straight up lied to me and tried to tell me she was not the one that was on here carrying on by him the other day. And I know for a fact she was. I didn't know. She had me confused for a minute. Like I said, I genuinely um apologized because I thought I had gotten it wrong. But yeah, she just took me on a whole loop de loop. It's the same old troll. I'm good over here. How you doing, Maurice Porter? Exactly. But again, my thing is, like I said the other night, no disrespect to him, my condolences to his family. But quite literally, 100,000 people on this planet fail to see another day every single day. Why is everybody carrying on so about him? Even to the point he said it very incendiary things about like the likes of like George Floyd and all of them. And trolls even coming here asking me if I'm George Floyd's mama. They digging that up on account of Charlie Kirk. And I'm like, no, we ain't going there. I'm not. I honestly, I can't even say I feel sorry for his family because the ideals, the way he chose to go out and be a fire starter, he knew very well what he could be setting himself up for. So, and that's what they chose to do, and that's the he chose to be a mouthpiece for the machine. It ain't that they forget Maurice Porter; they don't care to remember. When he was out there raising hell every day and keeping a whole bunch of nonsense going on. And again, I've heard some things that he said that I was like, okay, you make a point, I guess. But I've also heard him say some things that was like, oh hell no, and made me change the channel too. But all of a sudden, when somebody is unalived, then all of a sudden they got this whole antiquated thing where you can't speak ill of the dead. You can if the dead was out showing their ass before they died. I'm sick and tired of people turning around and acting like everybody was a saint whenever they finally go up and get what they was begging for all this time. And again, I'm not saying that I wanted anything bad to happen to that man. I have never wished nothing bad on nobody like that. And I do, like I said, my sincerest condolences to his family. But why people that don't know nothing about him and really wasn't fans of his and don't really know what his platform was about or nothing else, why are they all jumping out the woodwork now wanting to holler about how sad it is and all of that? Why can't they understand that the fact that we're still talking about it 2 weeks later lets us know that he was martyred by the machine to push a narrative? Do y'all not understand that when that whole Balenciaga thing happened a year or two ago, that they buried the hatchet on that in a week's time, even though these people were literally out there selling child corn and everything else, and the billionaire folks and the people that ran it, and Eva Longoria and all of them married to the man that's running that stuff, and they was talking about all them high dollar sex auctions and all that stuff that he was doing, and glorifying children trafficking and all of that, and the whole world swept that mess under the rug in less than a week and still was out there rocking their Balenciaga like nothing ever happened. But this man, this fire starter, who done said some extremely incendiary, racist, and very, very crippling Christian ideology that is very non-inclusive on the planet, they still acting like, they literally act like Yeshua died. That there's a reason for that. That is a psyop, people. Don't buy into it. Exactly, Michelle McMahon. They say that the day of a man's death is better than his birth because he has a chance to build a relationship with God. So why they all supposed to be such good Christians, but they all hooping and whining and bitching and carrying on when somebody leaves here? If they think that he was such a beautiful, glorious man of God, he in glory now. Why they still moping and whining and crying and they didn't even know him? They need to separate from the world because that is the world's nonsense, Maurice, for real. It is an absolute psyop to keep people looking at the wrong thing. Watch the bouncing ball. That part. And they don't even realize it. The president's assassination attempt didn't get this much coverage. And that's the president. But a YouTuber come along, a very mouthy, controversial YouTuber comes along and gets unalived, and they carrying on about it for almost 3 weeks now, 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Something ain't right with that. Hey, bro, 100. So sorry. Yeah. Well, I mean, truthfully, once they step out the vehicle, they ain't gonna rest or not rest. That's a kind of a Christian ideology thing with the heaven, hell, all the rest of that. I don't feel, I don't I don't envy any of them their life review when they transition, because there's enough folks that then came back with near death experiences to say that basically during life review you get to go back and revisit all the pain that you have caused other people from their point of view. You have to experience your victim's pain. Hey, big guy Dante, how are you? You say you minded your own indigenous business. I know that's right. You lead them to their own nonsense. Right. Like I say, when I heard about it, oh, I'm so sorry. That is bad. I saw a little bit of stuff here and there, but after a day or two, I just left it alone because I already knew that it was going to get blown way out of proportion and they were going to try to make this man into a martyr. Because truthfully, think about it. His message is more widespread, widely known now than when he was alive. It's a whole lot of folks did not listen to him while he was alive that'll go back and watch all of the mess that he said before. Now that he gone, if he even gone. Because how many times, we ain't even going into that. I don't need the FBI back up in my junk at all, at all. So I'm going to leave that alone now. Oh, I'm glad you're doing good, big guy. Oh, for crying out loud. But you know what? That wouldn't surprise me either, because I have noticed over the past year or two that the Christian apologists and the fanatics and all of that are like really, really ramping up them, and the black Israelites and all of that. They really, really doing their thing as well. Yeah, they just get whipped up into their little righteous fervor, and it is. And all of those agendas and things are going to become more and more prevalent because we marching to a showdown, y'all. You ain't know. It just ain't gonna go down like they think it's gonna go down, but that's all good. You said they need a hero to settle their guilt. I honestly, Maurice, I feel like it's not even about a hero to settle their guilt. I think the powers that were martyred him to, number one, like I said, I would really love to know what his unaliving was a subterfuge for. There was something going on behind the scenes that they didn't really want us to look at. And so they gave us something else to look at. And the reason, and again, I'm not talking out the side of my neck. They had a situation like that over during one part of the war over there. There was some little girl that had been, some military American that had been kidnapped, and I think she was an active duty soldier or whatever, and I forgot where it was, which country she was in, but they literally knew about where she was and how to go get her for a full 2 or 3 weeks before they actually went in to rescue her. But what they did beforehand, they let the frenzy get riled up. They went in and created some other kind of diversion, with in the middle of a protest, knocked over defaced a bunch of statues, and they created a whole big hullabaloo before they went in and got that girl, because that's what they chose to do. But they knew where she was and could have went and got her at any point in time. But the timing that they chose to go in to get her was to distract from something else they was doing that they didn't want nobody to pay attention to. Yeah, could be. They don't want that smoke though, for real. They really don't want that smoke. They need to stop. The one thing that I do, you said, do we have a choice about the life review? And not from what I understand. Nope. We will, from what I understand, that's because I mean, that whole heaven, hell, whatever, it ain't that. It's not even a judgment. It's from a point of your soul growth. What did you learn on this trip through? And part of that, and you first go through the process, is reviewing your life. And part of that review is to review the things that didn't go quite so well. You know what I'm saying? The lessons that you should have learned and didn't quite. Yeah. You say you heard a medium say we go through a live review before we become spirits. Could be. It can. Yeah. I mean, time is only a thing to us. So whether it's, look, how many near death experiences have people said that they thought that they were, you know on in the other realm for weeks or months, and yet they wake up in the hospital and they really only been out for 30 minutes or whatever. Time is relative. You say you think ghosts are ones that get lost trying to avoid life review. Maybe, or maybe because of their belief system, that they're so trapped that they don't understand, you know, that they can actually transcend, their consciousness hasn't expanded enough to allow them to continue on. They're trapped by their own limited consciousness. And honestly, some of what people talk about being ghosts is genuinely imposters. They are non corporeal beings from the other side. Some of them lower energy beings is playing the game with they Yahweh's minions, to be quite honest. Like I said, demons. Some of them. Not all of them, but some of them. You said if revaluation was told backwards, they said God's people gonna be hunted. The story could be reversed. We the hunter, they the prey. Yeah. First thought, well, God's people. That's a relative term. The ones that declared themselves to be God's people, which God? The people of which God? The people of Yahweh? Oh, they gonna be the prey for real. But it ain't even us gonna be doing the hunting. Read Revelation. That's the part, and I have a very interesting perspective of that because I was always taught, again, and I'm not saying they're right, but because I was raised Jehovah's Witness, when I read Revelation, the way they taught it, it was as if there's Christendom, Babylon the great harlot, of which Christendom is a major part, and then the witnesses stand separate. So it was all of them, and then there's witnesses. So I understood, excuse me, the potential for what could have been happening there in the Revelation story. Now, again, witnesses ain't no better than the rest of Christendom. They just don't understand that. But they still made a very valid point in their understanding of that scripture because that's exactly what the scriptures say. They call Babylon the great harlot, because she has aligned herself with the political systems of the world. But Babylon the Great represents the religious systems of the world, of which Christendom is a huge part. And in Revelation, it says that Yeshua is leading up all of the charge, but the destruction is headed off by Michael and the four horsemen and all of the ones that rock with Michael. And if you go to the book of Enoch, you'll see that's Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Phanuel, and was it Zachiel? I can't remember. But anyway, they doing their thing and they're going to come through. And all of those ones that rock with Yahweh, that aren't able to make the jump, that still wanting to hang on to Yahweh or whatever. Well, I'm saying the Revelation says Satan, but again, they don't understand that Satan is Yahweh because they missed that part. Well, they didn't teach that in Sunday school, but yeah, sure knew that, and they mentioned it in chapter 3 of Revelation, but they missed that part. And it talks about the immorality and the dirty commercialism, all of that stuff that's going on right now. And it says if they don't get it together, when he come through, and he told them that when he was on the earth, he said, in that day, many will come to me saying, Lord, Lord, didn't we teach in your name and perform many powerful works in your name and expel demons in your name? And yet I will say to you, get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. I never knew you. He told them that. And they don't get it. Because again, they've been hoodwinked and bamboozled. They genuinely feel that Yahweh, Jehovah, is the Alpha and the Omega, the beautiful, benefic sky daddy that loves them so much that he literally sacrificed his own son in a blood sacrifice for their benefit. They ain't never stopped to actually examine the morality of that or the immorality of it. Why would you slay your own son to cover up your mistakes? As if one person's blood could buy back 8, 10, 100 billion people's sinfulness anyway. Hey, Lord Kelvin. We just having a scriptural discussion here. That's all. Have a beautiful night as well, CC. I ain't much further behind. Yeah, I'm gonna be. 'Cause I guess I see y'all tomorrow on Anunnaki Oracle Priestess as well in the morning. Thank you, Lord Kelvin. Appreciate you. But yeah, that is it's still it always amazes me. And I can't even say it amazes me because I'm not saying that I blame humans or people, the majority of people, for not seeing it. I look at myself and how long it took me to be able to see it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that I blame people, but once it's actually called to their attention, now that part gets me that they can't sit there and use some critical thinking and go, oh shit, that's right. Wow. You know, a couple of live streams ago when we were reading in First and Second Kings, and how many times have I read those scriptures and never really was able to envision what I was reading there? When I'm sitting there reading that scene where they're sacrificing these animals and they in the temple doing their thing and all the rest of that stuff, and it was such a bloody, gory scene till I'm just imagining it in my mind. I'm like, this Yahweh cat is nasty. He is really, really gross. He was in there just, they were flinging blood around the temple like it wasn't nothing. And he right in the middle of it, he swoops down and devours that sacrifice, blood and all. You getting ready to go too? Yeah. Have a wonderful night, Amanda. I ain't, like I said, I'm not far, too much further behind. You'll be there? Okay, awesome. Yes, ma'am. I'll see you in the morning. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it about 15 more minutes here for any who are wanting to talk, and because we had some folks that just came in here. So yeah, and then I'm gonna get ready to pack it in as well, because like I said, we got tarot tomorrow on the other channel. So if I'm gonna make it there while it's still AM, I'm gonna have to go to bed soon. Because other than that, I'd be the overslept and it'd be a problem again. I'm not either, Lord Kelvin. I am spiritual. I guess if anything, maybe if I had to wear a title, probably universalist with a Buddhist leaning, maybe. But I'm not formally attached to any religious or religious style. I try to glean what I can where I can, but when Lord Inky said that we can turn off our worship gene, that's what I did. I don't have a need for the pomp and circumstance of religiosity anymore. I just want to learn the information so I can learn how to navigate myself out of it. I don't believe in Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. None of the Abrahamic religions, because the Abrahamic religions all worship a form of Yahweh. And Yahweh is the being that Yeshua said in the scriptures is Satan the devil. The Lost Book of Enki backs that up. There are other historical documents that back that up. If people actually traced the history of Yahweh on this planet all the way back through all the other various pantheons, they'd find out he done wore a lot of names. That switch from Yahweh to Jehovah, he don't care now about changing his name. He done changed his name a bunch of times. He was Beelzebub, Baal, Yaldabaoth, Dionysus, Bacchus, Zeus, Odin. He done been a whole bunch of different names. But his title given from Nibiru was Satan of the Eden. It's Enki, Lord Kelvin, not Inki. It's Enki and Enlil. Those were the two brothers that came here from Nibiru. Their sister Ninmah was also one of the primary geneticists. When in Genesis, where it says, "Let us make man in our image," that was Lord Enki. his sister Ninmah, who became known later as Ninhursag, who later became known as Isis, and his son Ningish Zeta, who became known as Thoth. But the Book of Enki is the Lost Book of Enki is by Zechariah. Well, it's not by him; it was translated by Zechariah Sitchin. I've actually got a playlist on this channel where we read about it. Tabitha Walters, the Kemetic beliefs. Again, all of the spiritual systems pretty much have been somewhat adulterated. Have you ever played the game telephone in school where you whisper something in somebody's ear and they whisper it in somebody's ear and they whisper it in somebody's ear, and by the time you get about 5 people down the line, it ain't nowhere near what it started out as? That's kind of happened with the religious systems. So truthfully, yeah, Stephen, I'm doing well, thank you. With when Yeshua started had when I first started like going down this part of the spiritual rabbit hole, one of the things that I was hearing clairaudiently was they delivered him up to the Romans. They delivered him up to the Romans. And for a while, I had to sit with that, and I had righteous indignation all over again because it dawned on me they, the Jews who were worshiping Yahweh, delivered Yeshua up to the Romans because the Jews wanted him dead, but they didn't want his blood on their hands, so they got the Romans to do it too. Well, who the hell do you think the Romans are? The Catholic Church folk. The same people that, I mean, that's the Romans. Uh, I'm trying to think. It was, was it Tobias? The one who actually unalive Yeshua, but then 300 years later, it was Constantine that wrote the whole Christian thing into being. And he was not a believer or a follower of Yeshua. He just wanted peace and unity in his kingdom. Exactly. They wanted everybody under the same roof. So he called the first council of Nicaea together, and they got a whole lot of the religious people of that time to come in, and they brought in all kinds of beliefs from all around the kingdom and knitted it together in this one unified story. And they plopped Yeshua down in the middle of it as a mascot in one of the biggest acts of hypocrisy the planet has ever seen, because Yeshua was teaching the exact 180-degree opposite of what the Jews and then later the Christians was talking about. He wasn't telling nobody to keep worshiping Yahweh. He told the Jews in John chapter 8, you don't know the one who sent me. You don't know my father. You worship your father, the devil. And he told him straight up, he's a manslayer, he was a liar, and the father of a lie. He's a murderer and don't have no truth in him. That's what he said about Yahweh. And they were so mad, they were seeking to kill him for that. And they did. They just did, like I said, they didn't want his blood on their hands. So they got the Romans to do their dirty work for him. And then they remembered the Yeshua story 300 years later when they was cooking up this religion, and they put him in the middle of it as a mascot. Bye, Page Countryman. No, ain't nobody here giving you no daggone $5. No, you can't. You gonna borrow something and we don't know who you are? You never been in here on the channel at all. So you would do yourself much better off to go somewhere with a cup and a sign that says we'll work for food or whatever country you're in, Page Countryman. You would do yourself a favor to go do that, because anything that anybody could transfer to you here on YouTube, you ain't gonna be able to get it today anyway. That part. So goodbye. You don't know what else to do? Okay. Again, whatever country, city, or wherever you at, yeah, the account is based in India, then I'm definitely can't be able to send you nothing. So sorry. I'm sorry. I get that part. We real hungry over here too. And I'm not even trying to be funny. But no, you're going to have to find another way, dear. Sorry. Whether it's based, everybody in India ain't broke either. Again, this is some And if you turn around, yeah, go to Facebook in your local area, or put yourself in a position to actually do some work or something in your local area. But I don't think you're going to find much success going into anybody's live stream begging for money, because that would mean that they'd have to get off of their live stream and then DM you somewhere and then agree to send you an international money transfer. Are you serious? Do you really think somebody gonna do that? And we don't know you from Adam. And the moment I do that, if I was crazy enough to do that, the moment I do that, I'd have 100 people just like you begging in my live stream all day, every day for money. No, honey, that's not the way this works. Because you ain't the first one tonight. And you probably the same clown that came in the first part of the live stream, because he, for some reason, he thinks that's cute to keep coming here asking me for $5. You can't even cash $5 out. If I did send you $5 internationally, you can't send nobody. I don't even think you can send nobody less than $10 on a money transfer anyway. And no, I'm not sending you no money. I'm so sorry, but not sorry. Yeah, it's about time for me to go because they done got crazy again. I thought we was having a good. Exactly, exactly. They just come in with pure foolishness. This is YouTube. This ain't no banking app, and it's not even. We don't even have the means to privately DM each other here. So how in the world would they anticipate me giving them anything? That's the part they don't understand. People that come in here and think that because we got an American accent, everybody in America is rich. They have no idea the homelessness and the food insecurity and the hunger that happens right here in this country. Right here. Now, I can honestly say, like I said, I'm grateful to have a roof over my head that I don't have to worry about. But yeah, uh, everybody's going through money troubles. Just because we in the United States don't mean we all. Everybody, most of the people in the U.S. are not rich. What did it say? 75, 80% of people in the U.S. are one paycheck or two at most away from homelessness. Exactly. You turn around and give the wrong people money, you can wind up with Homeland Security barking down your neck. You got to be real careful. Not to mention the fact, as a YouTuber, obviously, as much time as I spend on live stream, they should understand that this is kind of my gig at this point. Why would you come to my job and ask me to give you money? I'm not asking nobody to give me money, but if there's any to be had, it should be from me, not out here giving it to strangers that ain't even, like I said, that's his first time I'm seeing that name ever come up in the live stream. They didn't even give me the courtesy of listening to the live stream. Just pop up on here and want to ask for some money. Uh, Antoine, you say, does he poop? Like, truthfully, once a person becomes adjusted, like fully adjusted, as a breatharian, I don't think they poop much at all, unless they take an enema. I mean, for a while they will, when they're clearing out their system, but once they're fully recalibrated to light, they ain't eating nothing for, you poop crystals. Oh Lord, I don't think I want to see that though. I don't think I'd want to feel that either, to be honest with you. that's just that's gotta blow your mind and the rest of you. I thought you was going to bed, Cece. You know, I'm getting ready to go because y'all crazy now. We over here discussing poop on the live stream. I'm fit to go. For those that are able to join me tomorrow on Anunnaki Oracle Priestess, I will try to make it in as close to 11 o'clock as I can. I hope you'll join me there. And other than that, if not, I will see you. Ooh, I'm gonna still try to do Thursday this week. I'm in the process of changing my live stream schedule because I am trying to get started on TikTok this week. And I will let y'all know, especially in the group chat, I'll let you know when that's going to happen. I'm still trying to figure out TikTok. Again, I created an account a long time ago. I've never posted anything on it. I don't even be on TikTok. I had to reload the thing or whatever. So I've got to kind of look around and try to figure out how to navigate it and start putting some other content up there. I don't even know how to live stream on there or when I can live stream. So, but I'm gonna work out the kinks, but it will require me to change my live stream schedule here because I will be adding another platform. So, got to squeeze that one in too. But I do thank you all for hanging with me tonight. We had a blast. We ain't gonna never let the trolls get us down. It was, like I said, it was a good conversation though, in spite of the trolls, or maybe even because of them tonight. Who knows? But in any event, I love you, soul family. Until next time. In the meantime, in between time, take care of yourselves. I love you so very much. Peace and blessings to you. Namaste. Oh, you right, CC. I hear you. Yeah, it's all good. I'll let y'all later. Good night, everybody.